Hello, everybody, and happy Thursday. Welcome to The Million in You. I am here today with Carolyn for a second episode of The Million in You results, and I am so excited to be here and being able to talk to you, Carolyn, and share a little bit about your experience with TIR, with The Million in You, with John Tolorico, and of course, our amazing TIR family. How are you doing today, Carolyn?
I'm doing well, Fernanda. How are you?
I am doing excellent, excellent, and even better right now that I get to talk to you today live. And if anybody is watching, I do want to encourage you, as Carolyn is sharing her story, to come up and ask any questions that you may have. If you want to know anything about her story, if you want to know anything about her journey, if you have any questions about it, please feel free to just type in the comment section, and I will make sure that Carolyn sees and responds to the questions. So,
Sounds
Carolyn,
good.
thank you once again for being here, and thank you for investing in yourself and trusting John and being on this journey with us.
I have enjoyed it. I wasn't sure what to anticipate, what to expect, but I can honestly say it's been life changing. It has given me the opportunity to think about goals and making plans and just dreaming bigger than I would have dreamed. So I say the things that I'm doing now or decisions that I'm making now, I know I wouldn't have made them 6 months ago. And I did have to think and hesitate to say, oh, wow, am I willing to make this investment? Am I worth the investment? So the second question was a hands down yes. But I've always lived that practical life, and we can talk about that and make practical decisions. So it was difficult at first, and I hesitated. But after one day, I called back and reached back out and said, "Yes, I'm doing it." And I have no regrets whatsoever.
Wow, wow. What do you think is that one thing that, and I'm sure a lot of people can maybe relate to you when that kind of fear comes about, should I do this, should I not do this? And a lot of people are kind of on the fence about investing in themselves, about taking the next step, about jumping in or taking a big leap in their life. What do you think that is?
Well, you said, why do I think that is? Well, I think people are they're comfortable. They're comfortable with known factors in their life. So in fear of the unknown is just real. It's difficult for us to make a step in a direction where we've never traveled. And so we don't know what to expect. And for me, this has been very different. As I said, I'm always been very practical. When I think about goals, I think about SMART goals. Are they attainable? Are they measurable? And this program is nothing like that. So it forced me to get out of my comfort zone, to think of goals, big goals, not. And I love the fact that when you start looking we start off with those C-type goals, which I had never thought about, but not what you know you can do, but what do you want to do? And I don't know that I had ever given myself permission to think about what I want to do, not worry about how am I going to get it. And initially I struggled with that, because even if I wrote a goal, my practical mind said, well, then what's that next step? How do I do this? So going through thinking into results allows you, as you go through the lessons and each lesson builds on one another, that you start thinking to say, if the sky is the limit, what's going to bring me joy? What's going to bring me happiness? What's going to make me feel fulfilled? And I know I had not done that. And I had always thought, okay, I can do this, and here's the way I will do it. But I think it's that process alone for me was invaluable, because now I don't think about that. And I also realize I have to limit who I share this with. so that I'm so glad that I've been connected with people who are thinking in the same manner, because you can't always share your goals with people, definitely who haven't gone through this process, who don't have the same belief as you. So I have found just the connection with people who are moving in that same direction, who have shared so much information and just become a part of your life. I know that I've made some lifelong connections with what I call our Thinking into Results family. And just I'm getting to know them better and what they're doing. And they've introduced me to people and ideas and concepts far beyond our Thinking into Results. It's just the connections they have. And we just encourage one another and support one another. And I love that. Versus, people who, if you share something and they'll say, oh, okay, that's interesting. Or if they are similar in mindset to you before the program, when they're like, okay, well, how are you going to do that? Is it a measurable goal? Is it attainable? Is it, and what time frame? So that has been, I guess, freeing for me to sit back and say, what do I really want to do? And I think the conversations with John, when he said, what's going to make you happy? And I thought, happy? That's an interesting question, because I don't know that I've allowed myself to ever think about that. I've kind of gone down that path of saying, can I do it? Well, can I support myself doing it? Does it make sense? And then written out the steps that I needed to follow to accomplish it, and then accomplish the goal. But not really thinking about blue sky goal, just thinking about if there were no limits to what I could accomplish, and money was not an object. Don't think about whether it's practical or not.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do? And that was just a new concept for me, a new way of thinking. But the program strengthens your belief in yourself. And now I know that the decisions I'm making or things that I'm doing, I wouldn't have done 6 months ago. Wouldn't have done them even 3 months ago. And so it's been definitely a growth process, but a great one.
And, as you were talking about the goals, I can relate completely, because as I was growing up and I decided to go to school, I could have chosen to be and do many other things. However, my decision was, what can I actually do? What can I afford? What would I be able to accomplish? And so I went, of course, the nursing route, but I even went step by step in the nursing route. I didn't say I am going to become a nurse practitioner. I said I am going to get my associate's degree, because that seemed attainable at the moment, right? Okay. And then when I got my associates, I said, well, that wasn't too bad. Actually, I can go for my bachelor's. And then when I got my bachelor's, I'm like, okay, well, that wasn't too bad. I'm going to go for my master's, and so on and so forth. But from the beginning, I would have never believed in myself to say, one day I'm going to have a master's degree. I never saw that far ahead in myself. I never allowed myself to believe in myself enough to know that I could accomplish it. So I did it more on a step by step, right? However, what this shows you, TIR shows you, is that you can think about that one big dream, that one big goal that you have for your life. And even if it sounds crazy to others, as long as you have it in your mind, if you see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And if you're doing the work daily, if you're changing yourself, sooner or later, you're going to be in the position where you can take on those dreams and your goals and make them a reality for you.
Absolutely. I can relate to what you're saying. When I went to college, I knew I was going to go to college. So at first, I can even remember my parents. My mother had gone to college, my father had not. and we really had limited income. But all of my friends were talking about what school they were going to. So it wasn't a question in their minds of whether they were going. It was what school they were going to. And because of that, I started thinking the same way that, yep, I'm going to college. And I was thinking what I really enjoyed, because I hadn't really been exposed to a lot of career paths, but while I was in school, I was in the program and became a sort of a mentee of a sociology professor. And we started talking about a program in urban studies, and urban development was just opening up at the time. And he told me about a program. He kind of took me under his wing, told me about a program and the courses I needed to take, and also go to graduate school at the University of Rhode Island. So at that time I was in Maryland, and I thought, I'd never been away from my family. I was dating someone, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I really want to do that. And I immediately started thinking, is that practical? How much money do they make? Can I take care of myself? And so a friend of mine was taking an accounting course. I'd never thought about accounting. And she asked if I would mind taking it with her. And I just said, oh, well, it'll always be, I could use it as an elective. So I took the accounting class. I've always been good with numbers. But then I started looking at and researching how much money do accountants make. Mm-hmm. And that we will always have accountants. I will always have a job. I'll always be able to take care of myself. So I switched majors and switched to accounting, much to the dismay of the sociology professor, because he couldn't believe it. He said, where did that come from? Where did accounting come from? But I felt it was a good, solid decision. I knew my parents. I didn't have a safety net. My family didn't have a lot of money, and I knew that once I graduated from college, I needed to be able to take care of myself. So that's what I did, sort of charting my path from an accounting standpoint. But along the way, I got married and raised a family, and all of those decisions then kind of delayed other decisions in my life. But I knew I wanted to get my CPA, and at some point I knew I wanted to go to grad school. So, but they were all practical decisions that all related to then what can I do to further my career, still take care of my family, raise my children, and still have an income, and not thinking about, oh, would it be nice if I could do X, Y, Z? That just wasn't part of the thought process. Don't think I felt I had not necessarily permission, but the luxury of doing that. Mm-hmm. So I can relate to your decisions about going to school and how you went through the nursing process one step at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we are basically, since we're growing up, and that goes with the networking part that you were mentioning before, who you surround yourself with. And when you're growing up, everything that you do and every decision that you make, it's being judged by the people around you. And what we normally hear with people around us is, well, how are you even going to make it happen for you? Do you even have the money? Stop dreaming. Do something, be more realistic. That's something that we probably all have heard at some point in our lives. Be realistic. You're never going to make it, or whatever it is, right? And so when you align yourself with a group of people who are actually breaking, quote unquote, those rules of society and are dreaming beyond their wildest imagination, and they start working on themselves so they can make it happen, and you see others doing it, and you see others changing and getting, quantum leaping to the life of their dreams, you realize, well, everything that I was fed up to this point, it's really more or less a lie, because I can't live the life of my dreams. I can have that C-type goal. I can make my dreams a reality. But that's something that we allow ourselves to do. And that's something I think one of the major things also that changed with me when I joined the program is, wow, I can actually make my own decisions, and not coming from a critical mind of, well, what's the most convenient for me and my family, but what do I really want to do? And
Absolutely.
so, Carolyn, tell me a little bit about, and before I continue, I do want to give a little shout out to everybody who's listening to us in the chat. Tanya, Elena,
Um,
I see Joanna, I see Linda, I see Ify, a lot of people in this chat. So if you guys have any questions for Carolyn, please type them in the chat. But my next question to you is, what have been the most changes that you have noticed in your life over the past few months since joining TIR? Where were you before and what has changed since then?
well, I think the biggest change is trusting myself, trusting my decisions. So I think I had shared with you that I learned of John and the Thinking into Results program through first joining Les Brown's Power Voice. And I was just home. We've been working remotely since the pandemic started last March, but I was listening to Les Brown during lunchtime, and his message really spoke to me. And I joined Power Voice not thinking that I would do any public speaking. I mean, I spoke through my sister's ministry, and I always say my sister's ministry, but I'm on the board for her ministry. So I spoke there, I've spoken in church, I've led discussions, but never thought of myself being on a larger platform. But again, think Power Voice led me to John. But now I am registered to speak. I have 3 speaking events coming up between now and the end of the year. And I never would have thought I would have done that I would have believed in myself, trusted my abilities to do that. Because even with Power Voice, when we had to do a 3-minute speech, my thought was, 3 minutes, what on earth would I talk about? And it took me a while to just think through that process. I struggled with the idea of like, how would I do it? What would I say? To now I'm getting ready to deliver a 20-minute speech at an event in the next few weeks. So it's that growth in me, that belief in myself that I never would have thought that I would have done this 6 months ago. Yeah. I'm comfortable speaking like at work because I'll deliver training programs and I'll speak to our board and our executive team, but it's in an area that I feel knowledgeable, that it is where I feel I'm a subject matter expert. I'm okay doing that. But when you're talking about inspiring people or motivating people, that was something I wasn't sure I would do. It wasn't even on my horizon. So yes, that's the biggest change. I know that was a long answer, but that's the biggest change in that I am doing things, believing in myself, doing things that I did not see myself doing. But yet, in fact, I was talking to Tanya, I think you said she's on the line, if that's
Yes.
Tanya Powell, where when I was a very little girl, I can remember thinking I was going to be on a big stage, whether it was being a dancer or talking or whatever. But that may have been, early in elementary school. And, along the way, those thoughts just got pushed aside. They were just diminished because I don't know that I ever shared them with anyone. I can remember one time I said to my mother, and I said, "Oh, I wanted to take ballet lessons. I was going to be a ballerina." And she was like, "Oh, you're too tall. No, that can't happen." But clearly now I realize in retrospect, we just couldn't afford lessons. That just wasn't even part of the thought process. My family was struggling to make sure we had food on the table and clothes on our backs. So the idea of doing something extra, no. But I do remember my mother saying, "No, you're too tall. You'll never be a ballerina. They don't have tall ballerinas."
And the fact that you are now speaking and you are motivating and you are putting yourself in front of people and delivering a 20-minute speech when before you didn't even consider or entertain the thought, not only talks about your values and your fears, you overcoming those fears, but also your self-confidence. A lot of people who are not really putting themselves out there, it's because their self-confidence, their self-image, it's that what they have to say, it's not valuable. What they have to say,
Right.
nobody wants to hear. Nobody really cares about their message or their life story, or they don't have anything important to say, when in reality, you never know who's listening. You never know who you may be
Right.
impacting,
Right.
right?
Right. I know Les Brown always says there's an audience in the audience. And you may think your goal is to talk to uh, on the theme of that event, or you're talking to the whole group. And I just was talking to someone else or taking another course where they start saying, you're really talking to one or two people in that audience, and you never know what's going to resonate with them, because you don't really know people's backgrounds, you don't know their stories, you don't know what you will say to them that will inspire them or touch them at that moment. And that's what I've learned is, you've got to get your ego out of the way, stop worrying about how you're going to come across, what you're going to say. And if you speak from the heart and if you're genuine, then something you will say will resonate with at least one person in the audience. And that is something that I've had to learn, and just saying, and even with, I know our group, we have the inner circle group. So we have those special one meeting, the extra hour. And we all say, trust the process. You've got to learn to just trust the process and know that everything is going to be all right, but you have to believe. If you have a goal that is important to you, that you want more so than anything else, and you believe that you can do it, then you're going to achieve it. And everything that you need to accomplish that goal will come to you at the time and the moment that you need it. Now, I didn't believe that at first. I just said, my practical side said, that sounds so nice. That's so sweet. But I was like, really? But it is so true. And so those are the things that that I didn't believe, I didn't embrace, but I kept telling myself, just, mind and thought repetition, just keep doing it. And then the universe just aligns, that everything you need to accomplish what you need will come to you at the moment that you need it. And I am such a firm believer in that now. Wasn't 6 months ago. I wasn't even 3 months ago, but now I just believe it. Because even some of these opportunities to speak have just appeared, like, an email or a text message. And I'm thinking, how did I get that? How do they know of how did that come across, my threshold and on my radar? Or how did I even be on their radar? So it's good. I'm excited about what life has in store for me. And I'm just, buckling in for the ride.
Moving in confidently and taking confident daily trackable action towards your goals, and allowing yourself to open up to all of the beautiful things that the universe has in store for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just saying, it's like John sitting on my shoulder sometimes during the day. Is that a productive activity? Is that a productive activity? Have I written down all the things that I need to do? Because I realized I had a lot of distractions, distractors, my phone, checking, getting up first thing in the morning and checking my phone, checking Facebook, checking my timeline, checking. So even to not turn the TV on, well, obviously when I'm working, that doesn't happen. But there were times when definitely in the morning, it's in the morning and at night, last thing at night. I'm looking at my phone. What did I miss? And that doesn't happen as much. That doesn't happen as much now. And almost there are days when it doesn't happen at all.
And Carolyn, talking about John, what do you think has been the most influential or the most transformational thing that you have encountered working with John from him?
I still think it's the conversation. Well, my initial conversation with him when I couldn't decide on my goal, and I had all of these maybe a list of 5 or 6 things I wanted to do. He says, no, one goal. What do you want more than any? If you have to prioritize these, which one is most important to you? And the comment that has resonated the most with me is, what will make you happy? And that is what, am I having fun? Is it something I want to do? Is it making me happy? Am I having fun? And that is something that has resonated with me. Everything else, I remember, not all the time, but I remember, but I do the time and space repetition, staying on that positive vibration, being around people who are on the same vibration as you. Those are the biggest takeaways for me. And John's so calm. He says it. Sometimes he just says things very straight faced, but he's just has a very calming effect. And he's like straight, no chaser. That's how I look at him.
No, but it's very true. He has a certain way of actually, and I don't know how he does it, but like reading that energy and saying, okay, no, that's not what you really want. And you gotta get serious with yourself. Are you breathing? And you're like, I didn't even know that I wasn't breathing. Thank you for the reminder.
Right. Absolutely.
But it's also allowing you to get back to yourself and get real with yourself, really, and saying, you know what, what is that thing, really? I mean, it's allowing you, which of course you were always able to, but we close those doors on ourselves. It's allowing us to really get true and get real with ourselves and get quiet and get centered and say, really, what is that thing that would make me happier than anything else in the world? What is that thing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's for me, still in the back of my mind, but being able clearly to take care of myself, having financial independence. I'm just passionate about women, kind of, I always say, empowering women to step into their power, understand their purpose in life, and to be financially independent. It's important to me for women to definitely be financially independent. But I find that a lot of times there are many women who are just like me, who've kind of moved along the currents of life, and other things have taken precedence. Not to say that we don't want to be married or to raise our children, but those things become the priority. And sometimes you can lose yourself in your marriage or in your children. You lose your identity. I can remember I was Mrs. Collins for a long time, right? I'm Mrs. Collins, because that's how my children's friends refer to me. I'm Coleman and Morgan's mom, and Jackson's mom. And I have a friend who, when she would ask me, well, how are you doing? I would immediately launch into what my children are doing. And she said, no, Carolyn, I didn't ask you what your children are doing. Well, I'm glad the kids are good. I mean, they're now in their 30s, one's 43. But how are you doing? What are you doing? What's going on in your life? And I would chuckle and I'd say, yeah, you're right. You didn't ask me about the kids. You asked me about me, and I'm good. And she's like, okay, what does that mean? Like, yeah. And then we launch into a conversation about what I was doing. So I just know that there are many women who, whether they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, who've just not put themselves first. Mm-hmm. And so that's my goal, is to speak to those women, to say, your life isn't over, and there's nothing wrong with saying you want to spend time with your grandkids, but I feel like we might be blessed to have another 20, 30 years on this earth. And what are we going to do with that time?
Mhm.
And for me, it's what can I do to help other people, to help other women, but also that's going to be fulfilling for me and that I'm going to have fun with and be happy with.
That is beautiful. And I cannot wait to see you impacting and inspiring women all over the world. I share the same belief with you. I believe that it's extremely important for women to take power back and to realize how magnificent we are, how
Mm-hmm.
powerful we are, and really take our identity and go after our dreams, go after our goals, allow ourselves to dream, allow ourselves to dream big. Why not?
Right.
Why not? What's stopping us except ourselves?
Absolutely.
And so, yes. And Carolyn, thank you so much for being here today. Any last words that you want to say? Anything else that you would like to share before we end?
Yeah, I think that, I guess in closing, I just want to say I'm really appreciative for the Thinking into Results program, appreciative for all the people that I've met along this journey. And I would encourage anyone, regardless of where you are in your life right now, regardless of how hesitant you might be, is to just invest in yourself and know that you're worth it and to consider this program.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Carolyn, for taking the time and sharing your experience, for being open and honest, and for really being able to be such a beautiful source of inspiration during this call and with your mission for life. So thank you. I will see you on Tuesday during the next class. And also, just really quick, the inner circle. Is it great? Are you loving it?
I am loving it. And I'm going to mispronounce her last name, but Khadijah is our inner circle leader, and I love her. I love the people in our group, and I love the opportunity, one, to get to know everyone better because it's such a small group, and we're just a crazy group, but I feel that these are my friends, and I love the idea that we can break down the concepts of thinking into you on with a smaller group, just kind of delve deeper into some of those thoughts, and then even touch on other things that are related. And we just don't get the opportunity to do that with the larger groups. But again, getting to know the other people, and they are resources as well, because then we've communicated outside of the inner circle group. And so it's a good opportunity to get to know everyone who's kind of moving in the same path.
Right.
As you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just an additional resource to make sure that we are moving in the right direction with the right connections, with everything that we need to be able to live the life of our dreams. Ultimately.
Absolutely.
All right, Carolyn, thank you so much once again for being here. And thank you so much for everybody who connected today and participated in the chat. And with that, I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Please don't forget, we have this bootcamp coming up June 7th through the 11th, Money Manifestation Bootcamp. We have Les Brown, we have Bob Proctor, we have Anik Single, we have Agnes Virelli, we have John Tadorico coming to you. We are going to teach you how to unleash your manifesting power. So stay tuned, register jtlive.com. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity, and I will see you around. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.